Well, viewers, we've got another different very vague vlog today. Look at this. Those of you who are long-time channel viewers actually might recognise this car. I drove it in 2021 on No Budget Reviews. It was owned by a chap called Chris James, who supplied an awful lot of cars for the channel. It's since passed through a couple of owners since then, and well, the V5's now in my name. I mean, we're not actually at the house yet. The car's having a little bit of work done here in Warwickshire. But most importantly of all, viewers, it has a beige leather interior with wood, and it's even got leather door cards. I do like a nice beige leather interior. So this is a 1990 Rover 216 GSI automatic. It's actually got some optional extras on it from when it was new. It was supplied by a dealership in Ewell, which is in Epsom. That's actually walking distance away from where I used to live from 2007 to 2019. And some of the early channel videos were filmed in and around Ewell. It's not Ewell, it is Ewell. A lot of people do have problems saying it. But these are the original dealer plates, and that's now a Honda dealership. It's just on the A240 Ewell bypass, actually, is where it is, if you want to visit it, although, you know, this car was from a previous franchise. The other option on this car, which is specified with these alloy wheels, some of them are in better condition than others. This one, the centre needs doing. They're all a little bit curbed. This car was in the same family until 2019, and the service history is massive for this. Some things do need doing. These tyres are all going to be changed for the MOT. It's currently sawn. That's why it's sitting on a driveway at Mr Coleman's house, or his neighbours very kindly let us borrow it. All the tyres need doing. I mean, you can see on these at the front, which are from 2013, that we've got some horrible cracking going on. The ones at the back, which are Pirellis, don't look too bad until you get much closer up, and then you can see the cracking in there as well. So this is a very early R8. It's in a colour called Cherry Pearl Metallic, which is, I think, only available in the very early ones. Boot light works. You've actually got an alloy spare in here as well. And it's just in there. The tyre on that is appalling, so that's not going to be left behind either. We're probably going to use one of the back ones, which isn't too bad as the spare. But yeah, you've got an alloy spare on these. We've also got a lovely thing here, which is an old period Rover crate, I think, from probably the early 90s. It's the same colour as the car, so Mr Coleman kindly found that for me. We've got the original Philips stereo in this car. We've also got the original Scorpion alarm system, although the sound has been disabled because we don't really need that. We've also converted this to standard wheel nuts. Mud flaps on this car are a little bit sort of aged, and they probably need removing, so we'll probably take them off, unfortunately. The engine is in actually really good condition now. It's had the cam belt done. The cam belt was a bit old, so that's been changed. It also had rocker cover painted. Mr Coleman's very kindly done that for me. He sorted out the gasket, which was leaking, which is really common on these Honda D-Series engines. It's got multi-point fuel injection, this particular one. There were actually some versions of this car with single-point fuel injection, even some with a carb on the 1.4K series. But this is the Honda D-Series, and it must have been a nightmare actually engineering this, because as you can see, the engine's on like the right hand side rather than on the left, which would be on the T series, or the K series would be on the left. The gearbox is actually on this side rather than that side, so the engine turns in a completely different direction. So they had to re-engineer this car entirely from the original Honda design, which would have been for the D series, the Concerto, to then fit the K series and the T series, or other way around. I don't know which way they did it in, but it must have been a nightmare designing that, but this is the way they did it. Everything is really nice and clean under here. We've got other belts that have been changed in here. The power steering belt, the aux belt have been done. It's been had a little tidy up. This car's not got a lot of rust on it at all, really. The only bits that are noticeable on the car are right at the back, just here. And it's on both sides. We might get that touched up at some point, but it's not really that bad, to be honest. the lacquer is actually peeling on the top of the tailgate here. The car has been repainted at some point in its life. We're not entirely sure when that was, but whoever did this actually did a really good job. The paint match is really good. Yeah, that's the only kind of other bit there. It's not really that serious. I'm very pleased that actually this car was up for sale, and I got in touch with the seller, and he's a channel viewer, so he agreed to offer the car to me for quite a reasonable price. Obviously, it needs an MOT. The radiator is leaking, so we're going to have to get a new radiator for it and put a bit from another old radiator, which will be the external oil cooler, because it's an automatic car, this, and the only radiators you can get at the moment are manual ones, unless you recore them. Yeah. So the exhaust, for some reason, has been quite difficult to find the centre exhaust for this. It's a pre-cat cover. There is no cat on this. Engine's putting out around 115 horsepower, I think it is, on these. The cat ones are 110. So actually they're quite nippy, and having owned two R8 216 autos before, both SLIs, one an early one and one a late one, they actually are fast enough. But we'll look at the interior as well. We've actually got, over the SLI that I had, the 91, that you would have seen in 2020, apart from the beige leather interior, there is actually a height adjuster on this, which makes the car an awful lot more comfortable. It's very comfortable indeed, actually, this. I think we've even got lumbar adjustment. Yes, we have for driver and passenger. These bits of carpet on the bottom of the doors need gluing back on, but that's not really serious. But yeah, but one thing that really perplexes me about these cars is that this is the GSI. This is the most luxurious model they made. Rather than the GTR, which was the sporty one, that some of them had the twin cam version of this engine, which generated a bit more power. But the steering wheel's just plastic. There's no leather or anything on this at all. Original Philips stereo, I think that works. I might have to put the ignition on to actually do that, which is over here. See, the ignition light is still working 33 years later. So we'll just put that on there. See if this works. On. There we go. And that is working. So I can put my adapter into there and just use that. No air conditioning. It's a very, very rare option on the GSIs. I have heard of some cars with it. This car doesn't have that. And we haven't got front fog lamps. You'd need a special bumper to have front fog lamps. This car doesn't have one of those. The clock is actually working in there, which is nice. Bit of the sort of varnish is coming off in here, but I'm not too worried about that at the moment. Headlining, that is in quite poor condition. It's going to need doing. It was pretty bad in 2021 when I last drove this car, and it's not really improved. So that's going to have to be done. It's not the end of the world. You can get new headlines for these cars, but yeah, it is a bit of a mess at the moment. But again, the price I was offered this car at actually has left a lot of scope to have sort of bits kind of sorted out, really. And it is sort of replacing the 460, really. The S40's basically replacing the 45 V6 as a more everyday car. Mr Coleman's kindly just serviced this for me, which wasn't too bad. The oil filter housing was a pain to get off. But yeah, I've done something like 450 miles in this now, and yeah, it's fine. It'll be fine to use as the sort of older daily car we have. This one probably is going to live in a garage for at least some of the winter and everything like that. A friend of mine near where we lived offered me a garage space for this, and I think that's probably best for it, because you know, I'm very fond of these cars. It's my 9th Rover that I've owned and my 3rd R8. And I love this colour combination. I love the interior, obviously. Wheels are really nice. GSIs did not have these wheels as standard, but they were an option, which is there. Original dealer plates, as I've said, and actually the cars, it's quite unmolested, really. There's so much history for it. We've even got the original Henleys of Yule keyring there, and a little fob on there, which is good. Yeah, I mean, there's not really an awful lot kind of more to say other than that this is exactly the kind of car that I think I want to keep for quite a long time. There are bits to do. Mr Coleman's uncle will be giving this an MOT, of course, which he does with most of the cars that we have, and we'll be putting all the sort of bits that we need to in there. Anything you'd like to say, Mr Coleman?
A pleasure to work on it again, as always. Thank you. Yeah, I've done cam belt, water pump, both auxiliary belts, set all the valve clearances because they were miles out, set the ignition timing, serviced the automatic gearbox. So we're still waiting for a radiator. You can't get the automatic radiators anymore, so I'm going to fit a manual one and put an external oil cooler on it for the auto box. We've still got the exhaust to do, and I'll book some tyres for it in a couple of weeks' time when everything else is done.
Yeah, I mean the tyres are going to be interesting. Obviously, you know, all this is doing at the moment is shuffling up and down the drive. It's not going out on the road or anything, 'cause it's not got an MOT and not got any tax. But you know, it's been worth waiting for. We're very fortunate actually that we've got so many other cars. At the moment, I've still got the 460 as well. That we don't really need to rush with this one. Hopefully by middle of next month this will be finished and it'll be able to go to an event that I'm attending, a Great British Car Journey in Derbyshire. I'm sure it'll be great. It'll be even more comfortable than the last one I had because that was an SLI, not a GSI. The height adjusters make a massive difference actually to the driving position of these. But yeah, you know, I don't really know what to say. We've got these two wonderful cars now. We didn't have a few months ago. We've just got to get rid of that 460, and that'll be great. So thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment below, and we shall see you again very soon. Say goodbye, Mr Coleman.
Goodbye, Mr Coleman.